Welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast,
a platform where we talk about all things logistics.
Leading this discussion, you've got Brett and Nathan.
And together, we share a passion for the logistics industry.
Okay, welcome back everyone to another episode of Rolling Forward.
Good afternoon, Nath.
And today we're joined by the gentleman, Les Bruzsa from NHVR, the Chief Engineer. Welcome.
Yep.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Brett. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'm very excited to be here and be part of this this show.
This new discussion. And one of the reasons we asked you to be in this discussion, Les, is that you've been around for a long time, and some of the things we've done this year, you've appeared in a few of those photos. You've been a part of this journey that Brett has been championing, innovation and challenging assumptions, looking at new vehicle combinations and so forth. We had the A-Triple electric launch earlier this year, and unfortunately you were overseas representing Australia in a different light, and we'll go into that shortly. But some of those photos we had displayed on the day from some previous launches, you were in those photos. And as we do this podcast right now, we've just finished our on-road assessment for the Super 8. Yep. Which is really exciting, and again, grateful to yourself and your team for what you've organised. Before we jumped on the line here, Les was just telling us about some of the technical things that his team been doing behind the scenes
To make it happen.
To make it happen, and staying up to 4 a.m. to finish doing configuring this and configuring that to really help today be successful. So there's a lot of support.
Thank you to the NHVR team for that.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely amazing. So we're really grateful, and I guess let's kick things off with who is Les? For the audience listening, you got a great big history behind you. Who is Les? What's your background? What led you to where you are today, and where does your passion lie?
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for reminding me how old I am.
Experienced.
Yes. So. Originally, I was born in Hungary and migrated to Australia in 1991.
Yep.
My first name is Laszlo, but I'm using Les because it's easier for everybody. And I have a PhD in automotive mechanical engineering. So when I finished the university in Hungary, there was a special course which was creating automotive engineers. Then I worked 4 years for a big road transport company in Hungary.
Okay.
And then I saw Crocodile Dundee and decided that Australia is the place for me because I want to work with big trucks.
And just by curiosity, the transport company you're working for back in your homeland, what were they doing?
So that was generic transport across Europe and Middle East.
To general freight.
The company had 1,500 trucks and around 2,500 trailers. So it was a significant company back then in Hungary. So that gave me the basic education about road transport. And that was under the communist system, so in terms of resolving technical problems and issues, we had to be very creative and innovative, and I guess that's the thinking probably is originated from there. Yeah. And then I was lucky enough because my first job here in Australia was in a small private consultancy, working with one of the leading vehicle dynamics engineer around the world. Yep. It was called Road User Research, and we were heavily involved in developing innovative sort of concepts. And actually, one of my first job was working on the 25-meter BW, the introduction of 25-meter BWs. You are too young, you don't remember that.
Honestly, I was just thinking.
I remember Les.
I only know the BW as existing for forever, so that's, that's interesting.
That was back then, that was the challenge. And then in 95, I moved up to Brisbane, and I started to work for Queensland Transport. Yep. And my first job was the development of new combinations, including the AB triples and the B triples. That these were the first larger combinations which were introduced on the east coast of the country.
Yes.
And it was done based on performance-based sort of framework, which was different back then. So I worked there for a long period of time, and then also worked for the National Transport Commission for a period of time, then Transport and Main Roads. And then in 2013 I resigned from my position at TMR and moved over to the NHVR, the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator.
Yep.
And I've been working there since then. The interesting thing is that you mentioned all these developments that interestingly Queensland was a very, very progressive state in the 90s and after 2000. And so we were behind of the introduction of, for instance, B triples, and then the quads, the larger quad road trains which are operating more to the west. So the BAB quads, the ABB quads, and other quad combinations. And this is why I have the nickname of the quad father. So lots of people within the industry are calling me the quad father. And then obviously I was there at the start of PBS in the early days when we were developing the framework, how vehicles could be regulated in a different way. So I've been heavily involved in that since '99, I think. And I guess from my perspective that over these years I've seen lots of changes within the industry, but I can tell that the transport industry Australia is leading the way, and the envy of other countries what we can do. And I guess it's I don't want to talk too much about awards and recognition, but my contribution to the industry has been recognized by ATA, also HVIA. Just last year awarded me, and also I was inducted in 2022 to the Transport Hall of Fame for my contributions.
Wow.
So I guess that's a big achievement.
Yeah.
And
Well deserved.
But the real achievement is like we were doing this testing today with this new combination, and if I look around the port, I see hundreds of these new, more productive, safer vehicles operating, helping the economy and Australia in general. And that's the real recognition of what I
It's the take-up, isn't it, Les? It's the number of vehicles that take up these innovations.
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk about stats, but I'll leave you the questions.
You must be feeling very humbled from those awards, you know, and being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2022 as well.
Yeah, well done.
That's massive. Sorry, you go,
I was going to say, Les, can you talk about those early days of developing the PBS standards, because it was a bit of a mindset change for regulators to think about how do we set standards and then let people go away and think about their application and how they might be able to use those standards to do things more productively.
Yeah, I guess that goes back to engineering and science, I think, in terms of convincing the decision makers with technical evidence that yes, this is a vehicle combination which might look different, might be longer, might be heavier, might be higher, might be wider, whatever it is. It might have different internal dimensions. But if we are really looking at what this vehicle does on the road, that should be the basis of their approval.
Yeah.
So if those vehicles can safely be operated on the network, that should be the principle. And this is what was happening in the early days. I mentioned the B triples, for instance. Back then, we didn't have a PBS scheme. We didn't have rules. We selected a few performance measures, and because it was the early days of computer simulation in terms of vehicle dynamics for heavy vehicles, but we were able to simulate the performance of existing vehicles which were operating, so the traditional Type 1, Type 2 road trains and the B-doubles, for instance.
Yes.
And then we were able to support the ideas which were coming from the industry that, yes, let's assess this vehicle. And the driving principle was that if the vehicle is as good or better than an existing vehicle,
The reference vehicle,
then
yep.
it should be approved. So that was the fundamental fact behind the introduction of the AB triples, the B triples, and the quad road trains, what I mentioned. It was also helping us to introduce smaller combinations. So, Brett, you might remember for the 4XO dogs,
Yes.
the 3XO truck 4XO dog, and the increased mass limits for those, which was happening in the late 90s.
Yes.
But it was all the basis that we did computer simulation, we did some field testing, and then we did some trials, and then we approved the operation of those vehicles.
Yes.
What I can tell you that I've been behind of the introduction of probably 40 different combinations.
That's incredible.
And so, yes, I'm getting old. I know. Which is amazing, because if I look at the PBS scheme today, we've got roughly 120 different combination types approved under PBS.
Yes.
So, and that provides the opportunity to the industry to select a vehicle which is the best for the specific freight task.
For their task, yep.
So you can identify your operation and design a vehicle which fits your purpose, depending what you are doing. So I guess that's again a big achievement to look around and see that. And if I look at the PBS combination numbers now, I think the last data is that we've got around 28,000 PBS combinations running in this country. 28,000.
Wow.
So it's not a niche market anymore.
No.
And this is driving
It's widespread.
industry innovation, this is driving productivity, this is driving safety, and then sustainability, and obviously that's getting, in these days,
It
it's
improves.
very important to look at how sustainable the transport industry is.
And are you saying that? Are you seeing that most of those combinations are coming from industry? Those innovations, those suggestions.
In the early days, when before the establishment of the NHVR, we had these initiatives from the industry, but also from road authorities or the jurisdictions. The B-triple trial that was basically the Queensland Transport was behind it, so it was an initiative what the government started in terms of development of that combination. But obviously the jurisdictions were prepared to look at different ideas. The problem was that there was no nationally agreed rule set around the assessment and improvement of those combinations, and different jurisdictions were doing different things and assessing the vehicles differently. The other issue is that we've seen a huge improvement in our capabilities. So Brett mentioned that, yes, the engineers of the NHVR were working very hard on the instrumentation, what we use during the test today. But in terms of the computer modeling, the understanding of how vehicles perform, even down to the components like tires and suspensions and COG positions and engine torques and all
varying tyres and
so
varying combinations.
we can really understand how vehicles are performing, and that gives us that fine edge that yes, we can tailor a combination to your needs, whatever that need is.
Okay. And what actually goes into, we had a on-road assessment today, and in recent times you think of, there's been the one we did today, electric, you had the London trailers, and you've done a number of other things as well. You have the actual trial on the day, but there's a lot of pre-work and post-work. Can you just talk through what that actually looks like?
So I guess some of the combinations, it depends on the combination or the request. Obviously, the port environment is a little bit different because despite of the fact that it's a public road, but the operating conditions are completely different
They're quite
than
controlled.
some of the urban areas. So let's say if I look at the port, and I just again go back, the Super B, you mentioned that in 2002, and the PBS A double. This was the birthplace of the PBS A double back in 2011, 2012, 2010, around that
10,
area.
It was late 10.
Yeah, late 10. We started. That was the first. Then in the port, we introduced or we supported the operation of different combinations on different axle configurations. You see semi-trailers with split axle groups running around the port, carrying containers. So I guess from our perspective, and I want to emphasize that the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator, and in my current position as the Chief Engineer of this organization, we are responsible for the safety performance of those vehicles. So that's the decision which relies with the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator. It's not up to the road managers, and it's not up to the road authorities to set up vehicle conditions. Under the National Heavy Vehicle Law, that lies with the NHVR. So normally what we do, we discuss the ideas, and then we look at, okay, what would be the best way? How can we achieve that? And I guess that's the different thinking. That's the more innovative, progressive thinking what we are following, that we are not saying just no, we are trying to find a way that what is an acceptable way, still providing public safety and safety for other road users,
compromise.
but there is no compromise about that. But if you think about heavy vehicle regulations, they are very, very rigid. If you looking at the Australian design rules, they are very, very rigid, and it's very, very difficult to change those rules. So fortunately, we've got PBS now, which provides a framework for innovation. So that means that vehicles can be assessed. So normally we do computer simulations. Even if I look at the trial of what we conducted today, before that we run a computer simulation, and we analyze the critical elements of the routes where this vehicle will be operated. So we check the sweat path, we check the stability, we check how the vehicle would interact with other road users. So we do the simulation, then we do mainly an instrumented trial. So in this case, we put the instrumentation on your combination, and we were running that around, and then we are collecting data. And I guess that's very important, the data, that we are making decisions based on data and facts and performance. And engineering, we are making an engineering judgment that yes, this vehicle is suitable for this task or not. And so then the next step is that yes, we validate the simulation. We can, if we measure, let's say, lateral acceleration, and we see that around the roundabout, the vehicle might not have enough safety reserve, or because might be less stable due to the weights or the designs or the loads or whatever, then we can put in conditions which would mitigate that risk. So risk mitigation is then the next step. And obviously we are working together with the road managers, because the other important thing to understand is that we cannot issue a permit without the consent of the road managers. So in this case, the Port of Brisbane will have to provide us a consent that yes, the permit for this vehicle can be issued.
Yep.
So it's it could be a demanding process, and but I guess when you see the results of and see those vehicles operating efficiently around the country, that's basically it's delivering the results.
Yeah, well, it's incredible, and ultimately, I keep saying this: we're here to serve importers and exporters, and there's a lot of customer locations that have then adapted their operations to actually suit multi-combinational vehicles to arrive on site, which is great.
Les, the PBS scheme is quite a few years old now. You said there's 28,000 vehicles in there. One criticism I probably had of the PBS scheme is it's left vehicles on there under permit too long before moving them off to a notice, a la the B-double and other vehicles. What's sort of your view on that process of migrating vehicles away from the relatively human-intensive process of permitting under the scheme?
To like a Gazette style.
Yeah, to a notice. So it's an as-of-right notice. You meet these criteria.
Yep.
You can operate that combination.
Yep.
So I think it's definitely that would be a way forward, and I think we and HVR we are supporting that, and we've been working on a couple of templates. If I look at the numbers, and let's say we've got 11,000, roughly 11,000 truck and dog
Dogs,
combinations. Probably 8,000 of them 3XO truck, 4XO dogs.
Yes.
Why do you need to go through the process with,
Meat and potatoes.
with the next one?
Let's get them out of there.
We've got around 6,000 A-doubles. You can ask the same question.
Get them
Why
out of
do
there.
we?
Yeah.
But here is the complexity. So on one hand, if you design a template, let's say for an A-double, I can do that, but if I want to make it generic, then I have to have engineering assumptions which are, let's say, considering what is the suspension, what we are using, or what is the tail weight, or what is the engine, and so on. So in some of the specifications, when, let's say, you specify your vehicle, you know that I like this brand as for suspension because it gives us better performance than that brand. If I create a generic template, that means I have to have some of the controls over the vehicle. So that might mean that, let's say, I'm reducing the payload height, for instance. And that means that for some operators, it's not that won't be suitable because of the limitations. So it's a very fine line, very fine line between having a generic specification and also a tailored vehicle which is optimized for efficiency, payload, and performance. It's a very narrow line, but we this year we are working on that, and hopefully we will be able to deliver the industry a couple of template vehicles. That experience, if you look at New Zealand, they've got templates what they provide to their industry. They are all the same, but that makes it easy for the industry to utilize some of the better performing vehicles.
Yes.
Yep. And kick in a lot faster too.
Yeah, that's right, 'cause it has it right.
And you have the cost of it and so on. Having said that, PBS is operating well, in my mind. The initial problems what we had, probably we have ironed out those problems and can provide a much better service for the industry. So I think horses for courses. Template vehicles might be working for certain operations or operators, but not be ideal for some of the others.
Yep. Okay. And talk to us about you you spent some time in Canada recently.
Yes.
And you're representing Australia.
It wasn't a
support-
junket. That
And I remember
It's a tough job, Les, but somebody's got to do it.
someone's got to go. I think you went to New York on the back end of that too, didn't you? Yeah.
that was a junket. Yeah. Sorry, we have to cut this out.
Yeah. And when we spoke recently, you also referenced that you were reflecting on 20 years prior. You're doing some studies, and it was quite interesting. You're doing the contrast, the discussions and the studies you did 20 years prior versus the presentations you're doing to the Canadians and other guests that went along. What was that about?
So this was this is a series of conferences, HVTT 18. That was the last one, and this conference started back in the late 80s in Canada, actually, and it was called International Symposium on Heavy Vehicle Weights and Dimensions. So the origin of this conference was looking at heavy vehicle weights and dimensions.
Yep.
And this is where the experts were getting together and trying to look at the rules which were governing the management of heavy vehicles in the different countries. Obviously, Canada was very involved in the early days, and if we look at the B doubles, B doubles were originated from Canada. So we imported that concept from Canada. And then the conference was working about these potential performance measures which could be used for heavy vehicles. And it brought together the different areas. So it was pavement engineers, bridge engineers, vehicle dynamics experts, regulators, and the industry, trying to find a way how we could have a better system for the management of heavy vehicles. And basically PBS was born there. The thing is that we got really active, and I want to emphasize again that Australia is the first country or the only country which would have a fully comprehensive performance-based set of regulations in the law. So while certain elements of the regulations like stability or braking distance or emission, they are part of the regulations, but in terms of heavy vehicle weights and dimensions, we are really leading the world. So it was interesting. This was the 18th conference, and I've been involved in that in 95. Sorry, see my memory. 95, and in my presentation, actually, I went through the historical stuff. So I had the papers, what I was written in 98, 2000, 2002, and so on, because this conference is organized every second year.
Yep.
And then I merged that with the changes, the regulatory changes, what was happening in Australia. So not just regulatory changes, but for instance, how we practically implemented the outcomes of that technical or engineering research which is happening within that organization. It's all the attendees, they were really amazed what we have achieved and how we were able to implement
What you actually spoke about.
Technical, evidence-based assessment methods and implement that into our operations. So that was what I was talking about, the past, the present, and the future of PBS and high productivity vehicles in this country. And it's funny that I was talking about, for instance, one of my first paper was about the AB triples and the B triples. I mentioned that. And in another paper in 2013, that was the time when the Australian transport ministers approved the B-triples nationally. So while Queensland, we introduced them 15 years earlier,
Yep.
the regulatory framework was working very, very slowly
Yep.
until that idea was picked up. So obviously, yes, PBS is now, well, let's say 15, 16 years old. But in the last few years, we achieved much, much more.
Yeah.
And I guess because we had the solid basis of that. So that was my presentation. We presented a number of research papers. One of them is actually very interesting. And that was how we can use technology in PBS.
Sure.
And that might be interesting for you and also the listeners. Because obviously technology has improved a lot recently. So if you're looking at, let's say, road stability technology,
Yep.
that's now part of the prescriptive requirements. But in PBS, we don't recognize that. So we are doing lots of work to see how we can change the PBS standards and accept that, yes, we have technologies which can deliver the safety outcomes what we are looking for, and that would open up the door for a large number of different areas where they cannot utilize PBS right now, like livestock vehicles or refrigerated vehicles, where they would have a difficulty to achieve stability standards. But
Yes.
but even some of the grain vehicles, when they are loaded up to
High levels,
higher mass limits, sometimes they are right at the borderline. So that was another paper what we presented. So we are doing a research, and I'm extremely pleased that I mentioned the team at NHPR, that we have very advanced modeling capabilities. We can simulate vehicles, we can instrument vehicles. So that gives us that evidence, those facts which are necessary to change or modify the regulatory system. And that's going to be the benefit for the industry. So I probably should add that there are an increasing number of other countries which are looking at PBS. So South Africa,
actually adopting it.
yeah,
Yes.
Canada, they are looking at our scheme, and they are looking at are there any pieces or the complete system. South Africa, for instance, they are running a pilot operation there.
Yep.
They are using our standards. In Europe, they looked at our standards, and then they decided that they're going to modify some of those. Obviously, their road network is completely different
to ours,
than ours. But we've got the Nordic countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway. They are running PBS type combinations in an increasing number. There is Canada there, and also Argentina and Brazil and some of those other countries. So what you learn when you go to these conferences, that the fundamental problems are the same in terms of in the transport industry. So you've got you want to achieve productivity,
Safety,
you've got driver shortages, you've got the safety implications, you've got the sustainability or environmental impact. So those are all the same, and they are all looking for a way out, and they can see a framework which is working extremely well. And I guess probably I have to add one more thing, and sorry if I'm taking too long.
I was looking at my watch. I was
you were looking
somehow
at your watch.
I'm getting a phone call coming through, so airplane mode
Didn't work.
has worked on the mobile, but my watch is
I
still
thought that
calling.
I'm talking too much.
You're
Just
fine.
just stop me, because I'm really passionate about this. So
We brought you on to talk.
Yeah,
We can talk anytime.
yeah.
so that a large number of presentations were about electric vehicles or platooning.
Yes.
That's what I think is going to be really interesting, is that platooning.
Trucks. But during the closing session, when some of the experts were looking at what sort of presentations they had at the conference, they had to realize that, yes, those technologies or those solutions are 10, 15 years, 5, 10, 15 years away.
Yes.
PBS is right now.
Yeah, you can do it now.
Right here.
Yep.
So if you think about what sort of technologies you would need to be able to have platoons running around the network, that development is not here yet. But
It's not far off though. Like you think of of how progressed Australia is as a nation, and how much we have achieved. It shouldn't be too far away here.
Well,
you know, there's a bit to go.
But
What's easier to have an electronic or communication-based coupling between two units, two vehicles, or just hook up another trailer behind
put a dolly
you.
in there.
Or a dolly. So the concept is that if the network is suitable for platoons, then that piece of network should be suitable for
A PBS.
an A double or an A triple or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess that was that if we want to achieve some of the benefits what these schemes can deliver, then we should support PBS or high productivity vehicles.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be called PBS. You can call it in a different way.
I think it's you go, Brett.
I was going to say, Les, so you're saying that no other country has formally at this stage adopted a PBS style scheme. They've pinched bits, but they're all looking at it with a view to adopting some form of it.
Yes, there are certain operations, like I say, in Sweden.
Yes.
South Africa has been running a pilot scheme for a long period of time. They are waiting the political decision that yes, from the pilot they move to a proper implementation of the scheme. But there are bits and pieces, because you might pick some of the PBS standards for the management of certain vehicles. So like stability, we've got the stability limit for buses or dangerous goods vehicles.
Yes.
Or you might pick up, let's say, sweat part requirements for oversize, overmass vehicles. So there are opportunities to use some of the elements of PBS, but the fundamental thing is that it's performance-based.
That's
you
right.
establish what is the acceptable performance
Yep.
on the road. It could be, stability, sweat part, or whatever that is, and then you make your rules accordingly. The other thing is, which is interesting, and I want to mention that in South Africa, the pilot scheme, they've got, I think, around 1,600 vehicles running there as PBS. So compared to Australia, is a small sort of fleet, PBS fleet. But they are monitoring their performance. So in terms of their safety, trip numbers, mileages, fuel consumption, all that. And so if I look at their data in terms of safety, they have demonstrated that the safety benefits for that relatively small fleet, when you compare the PBS vehicles and the prescriptive vehicles, the safety benefits around 60%.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same here in Australia. So, and we've got the data showing that PBS vehicles are delivering 50-60% safety benefits when you compare them to prescriptive. So if I say that, yes, last year we saved 9 or 10 lives because of the operation of the PBS fleet, that's the message I think what we should be promoting much more.
Yes.
That, because that's significant. And that's just the fatals, and I'm not talking about all the smaller sort of crashes.
Injuries,
so now there is evidence that these vehicles are performing better and they are delivering the safety benefits. And that's on the top of your efficiency benefits and reduced trip numbers, reduced emission, reduced number of vehicles on the road, and so on.
Congestion, etc.
That's massive. I think a massive credit to yourself and NHVR for working with industry and helping lead Australia on that front, because I think it's massive. And
when you think about it, it is a major thing.
It's huge.
It's huge.
And it's amazing that government are supporting industry to that extent. we're so
Yeah, we
grateful.
have a scheme where if you come along with a vehicle that meets all the requirements, then there's a good chance you're going to get up with that vehicle.
Yeah, and I think that this scheme will be the scheme is available now for other things. So, I mean, people are talking about electric trailers,
Yes.
Power
not
trailers,
just
yes. Yeah.
power trailers. Now, the current rules wouldn't allow that to be utilized. So, what do you do? And now we've got a framework where you can establish that these vehicles can be safely operated. So,
Yes.
so you can try that even before you go through the very long legislative process,
Yes.
changing the
Yeah, I
rules
mean,
around them.
The powered trailer is a good entree because, like the electric trucks we trialled the other day, Les, they're very heavy.
Yes.
And it allows you to get weight off that truck and better balance the truck-trailer combination to more suit our roads, our bridges, etc.
Yep.
If you make it a hybrid vehicle effectively with a diesel up front and a battery pack and power pack on the trailer, where it can better bear the weight, rather than putting that onus all on the prime mover to bear all the weight, which then creates a vehicle that's not very useful for our roads.
Yeah, and if I look at PBS, we have a number of standards which are driveline related. So, for instance, startability, gradability, acceleration capability.
Yes.
Those are all related to driveline performance. So that includes the engine, obviously the driveline, and so on. Now, when you are getting into heavier and heavier vehicles, that's a challenge. How do you meet those requirements? So obviously, I think power trailers will be providing an opportunity to achieve those performance requirements with different vehicles.
Yes.
And like acceleration capability, that's a critical element when you are looking at railway crossing safety. So you've got a longer vehicle, you want to make it sure that that vehicle can clear the railway crossing. And in order to do that, you need to have acceleration performance.
Yes.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, I think we've covered some gold today, and let's park it there. So thank you again, Les, for supporting industry in such a great way, and from what we're hearing, leading Australia.
I think his godfather is also the father of productivity, the productivity father.
Productivity father.
So,
right there.
Thank you very much.
From industry, just keep up the good fight, Les. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks for the opportunity, and sorry if I was carrying around the things.
Not at all, mate.
We came here to listen to you, Les, not to listen to us rabble on. So
very passionate about that, as you can tell.
As are we, mate.
And honestly, like, my biggest takeaway is just the sheer fact of how much Australia is leading the way in this arena. And I see that as, the framework you're talking about is going to help us progress a lot faster as time goes on. Other countries are not going to be able to have that momentum as fast as potentially Australia will. Yeah. So
it helps us economically. It helps, as Les pointed out, from a safety point of view. We kill, injure, and maim a lot less people as a result.
Yep. And then from a sustainability perspective as well.
Yeah, it's
addressing the driver shortage.
If again, not forgetting the safety, because I said that's very important. But if you're just looking at our economical issues or challenges these days, you hear about productivity problems in all sectors every day. And if I just look at your vehicles, which can provide, let's say, a 25% productivity improvement with one vehicle, that's just amazing achievement. And that's a credit to you guys, because at the end of the day, you have a business to run, and from a regulatory perspective, that's what we need to understand, that you are running a business, and we have to make it sure that the environment what we provide to you gives you opportunity to run an efficient business.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Les.
Thanks, Les.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, Rolling Forward. We love sharing content for the logistics industry, so please also connect with us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.